Birshus, Rosh Yeshiva, Chashiv Rabbanim, Magidei Shiurim, my parents, B'chol HaKol, HaKadosh Hazeh. Ashrei Ayin Roso Kol Eileh. Fortunate is the eye that is witness to this magnificent gathering of Kavod Torah. 80 years ago this week, on the 25th of Iyar, 1945, was a day of celebration marked across the Western world as radio broadcasts announced the surrender of Nazi Germany, Yamach Shemam, ending the hostilities in Europe. However, thousands of miles away in Shanghai, the exiled Mir Yeshiva had little cause for celebration. Bombs still rained from the sky as the war in the Pacific reached its crescendo. Yet even louder than the blasts was the unbearable silence. News trickled in. A family's gone, cities destroyed, and the great citadels of Torah reduced to ash. The very world that had nurtured them had been erased. They were the last survivors of a world that no longer existed. The Mashgiach Rav Chatzkel would later describe those 5 years in Shanghai as a greenhouse, sealed off from the chaos, a place where Torah could blossom in purity and in strength. When the dust of war finally settled, the survivors of this miraculous Nes Hatzalah emerged, charged with the sacred sense of Achrayas. The seeds preserved in Shanghai would be replanted to build Torah throughout the world. We gather here just days after Lag BaOmer when we commemorate how the great Magefa ended. The one that took Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim because lo yinahagu kavod zeh lo zeh. They lacked the midos expected of B'nai Torah. Yet, despite all that he had endured, Rabbi Akiva responded by rebuilding, teaching 5 new Talmidim. Their Torah, infused with proper midos, continued the chain from Har Sinai and saved Klal Yisrael. Torah, when it comes along with humility, generosity, kindness, and respect, will always flourish. However, this is not just the story of Rabbi Akiva, it is also the story of the Mir Yeshiva. Let us now return to 1945. Across the world in Yerushalayim, the Rosh Yeshiva of Rav Leizer Yudel prepared to reunite with his beloved Talmidim. After arriving in 1940, he reestablished the yeshiva with a small group of Yerushalmi Bachrim. The war years in Eretz Yisrael were defined by hunger and fear, but somehow Rav Leizer Yudel managed to perpetuate the flame of Torah just as he had done back in Europe. But the question remains, why the Mir? The Rosh Yeshiva Rabbi Yamin Shlita shared in the name of Rav Shimon Schwab that the Mir's greatness began with one solemn decision. In 1910, Rav Leizer Yudel was approached by his father, the great Alter of Slobodka, to hire Rav Yerucham Levovitz, who had recently departed from Radin, to serve as the Mashgiach in the Mir. The Alter cautioned him, if you bring in Rav Yerucham, the Bachrim will be absolutely captivated, and you'll no longer feel like the yeshiva is yours. Not in function, but in spirit. The yeshiva will shift toward Rav Yerucham. And yet, despite this warning, Rav Leizer Yudel did not hesitate for a moment. Can you imagine? Rav Leizer Yudel knew that Rav Yerucham's charisma would relegate him to a secondary role in his very own yeshiva. And yet, he did it anyway. Rav Schwab pointed to that moment as the root of the Mir's greatness. Because Rav Leizer Yudel wasn't in it for himself. He was in it for the Torah. 2 decades later, recognizing the Brisker Rav's unique abilities, Rav Leizer Yudel sent his finest Talmidim to establish a kibbutz in Brisk, and even funded it, despite his own yeshiva's financial struggles. Rabbi Sai, look what has become of that investment. Brisker remains one of the most elite branches of the Mir until this very day. Similarly, when the Chairman Rav arrived in Eretz Yisrael during the war, Rav Leizer Yudel provided funding to establish what is now one of Yerushalayim's preeminent Chassidish yeshivas, along with the Mir. His vision extended far beyond the walls of his own institution and even his Messiah. But let me share with you his story. A young Sephardi Torah scholar in Yerushalayim, brilliant but impoverished, struggled to put food on the table. His holy wife would get their hungry children through the week, telling them, Abba will arrive home in Erev Shabbos with money so we can enjoy the Seudat Shabbat. How did he do it? On Erev Shabbos, he would take a shtickle Torah he had developed and present it at the home of Rav Leizer Yudel. The Rosh Yeshiva would listen, appreciate it, and then quietly slip money into the young man's hand. Not because he learned in the Mir, and surely not because he had extra money to give out, but because Rav Leizer Yudel believed in building B'nai Torah to create accomplished scholars for the B'nai Shalom. He wasn't building the Mir, he was building Klal Yisrael. That young man would later become one of the greatest halachic authorities of our time, the great light of Eastern Jewry, who was Machzir Atar Liyoshna, Chacham Ovadia Yosef. Covered Torah, covered for those who learn it. That's what the Mir has always stood for. This tradition of Vatronas continued with Rabbanish, a legacy captured so poignantly by the Mashgiach of Shloim Bevolba, who remarked, Rabbanish knew how to hide at the Mizrachvant. That same spirit lived on through Rav Nosson Tzvi and continues today with the Rosh Yeshiva Shlita. Is there any wonder then that for the past century, the Mir has produced an outsized number of Gedolei Yisrael, Mashgichim, and Magidei Shir? It is that quiet humility, that willingness to step back so Torah can shine, that has allowed the Mir to raise a staggering number of Marbitzei Torah. Rabbi Akiva taught us another essential lesson. Shali v'shalochem shalah hi. What is mine and what is yours, he told his Talmidim, belongs to my wife Rachel. Anyone involved in this holy endeavor, in whatever capacity, knows the heroism lies not in the long nights on the road fundraising, not in the endless meetings, and not even in the pressure of knowing that the younger light must be paid each month, but back at home with our wives, contending with so much on their own. Shalanu shalohem hi. As Shlomo HaMelech wrote, Tenu la mipri yadeh. Tonight, we give them the praise they've never asked for, but have always deserved. All that we've accomplished belongs to them. Tonight, v'hallelujah v'shara ma'aseha. The greenhouse of Shanghai protected not just Torah learning, but a way of approaching Torah with selflessness and kavod. This isn't just our Messiah, it's our mission, our mandate, and our merit to uphold. And tonight, as we recommit ourselves to the sacred mission, we turn to the one who guides our yeshiva with this very same spirit of dedication and Mesiras Nefesh. Please join me in welcoming the Rosh Yeshiva Shlita to new Kavod LaTorah.